Welcome back to the Gentleman's Gazette. In today's video, we discuss the ad "We Believe the Best Man Can Be," which has been quite controversial in the last few days. Because we're called the Gentleman's Gazette and we hold ourselves out to help men be gentlemen, we thought it was a good time to discuss what it means to be a gentleman, or masculinity and men in general. So without further ado, let's watch the video and I'll comment along.
Bullying.
The Me Too movement against sexual
Toxic
harassment.
masculinity.
Is this the best a man can get?
Okay, so it's obviously about the Me Too movement. Honestly, to me, saying Gillette, the best a man can get, it's like saying McDonald's, the highest quality health food a man can get. It's just a complete empty statement that couldn't be further from the truth. But again, that's just my opinion.
Is it?
It's likely happening here in
Bullying, a problem
We can't hide from it.
Sexual harassment is taking over.
It's been going on.
Yeah, bullying is not something a gentleman should engage in, neither is sexual harassment. But if we actually take a step back and look at a piece that we created in 2016, it's called "What It Means to Be a Gentleman Today." And we simply tried to analyze what it means in this day and age because, you know, back in the day, there were simply different terms for gentleman, right? It used to be a chivalrous, courteous, or honorable man, a polite way or formal way to referring to a man, or a nobleman. But all those things don't necessarily ring true anymore in this day and age. So we came up with these 11 points, right? One is a gentleman is imperfect. A gentleman has high standards. He's well dressed. He has good manners. He's open-minded. He's interesting and informed. His actions match his words, and he treats other people with respect. Now, when you touch a woman's ass, that's anything but respectful because you just treat her as an object, right? So I know there was a time when this was considered okay, or men would say, well, she wants it. Frankly, I'm happy to live in this day and age where everyone should be able to decide whether they can be touched or not, and they can express their feelings, and they're in control what happens to their body and not someone else.
Far too long. We can't laugh it off.
Honestly, I would agree. Just laughing things off or saying, oh, it's not that big of a deal, is not going to solve the deeper issue of an imbalance of power that is often there. Now, don't get me wrong, I love men, right? Everything we do is for men, and we will never do a ladies' gazette or a women's gazette because we're passionate about helping men and becoming better. Now, a great man who is often not discussed at first when it comes to gentlemen, Vin Diesel, he had those wise words to say. Being male is a matter of birth, being a man is a matter of age, but being a gentleman is a matter of choice. And to me, that really rings home because it is very, very true. I didn't have a decision in whether I'm a man or not. I was born that way. When I turned 18, I became a man, but by trying to become better every day and to live to a certain standard where I treat others with respect, I hold myself out to be a gentleman, or I'm aspiring to be one. I know it's hard. We all make mistakes. I did them, and we're not always on our A game. However, that doesn't mean that we can't strive to be that.
Who's the daddy?
What I actually think she's trying to say.
Making the same.
Okay, so in this case, for example, I doubt the gentleman actually thinks that he's behaving in an ungentlemanly way, but by touching her and saying what she's actually trying to say is he's basically belittling her, right? And you never, as a gentleman, want to belittle others. You want to treat them respectfully. And the question to ask is, would he have treated a man or would he have treated an equal like that? And the answer is probably not, because putting your hand on someone's shoulder and trying to articulate what they want to say is usually what you do with a little boy, or when you basically want to show that they're just learning and they're not up to par yet to talk at the table with the big shots.
Making the same old excuses.
Boys will be boys.
Boys will be boys. Boys will be boys.
But some
Now, boys will be boys. Yes, I was a boy. Boys are often more rambunctious. They want to fight and they want to have little toy weapons. And while all that is okay, it's not okay to accept other kids being bullied or beaten up simply because they're different. And frankly, when I was a boy, I engaged in behavior where we had one guy in our school and we knew that he would kind of flip out or go crazy when we just kind of teased him. And so we would tease him just to get that reaction. Looking back, that was a very ungentlemanly behavior, and I think it would have been great if someone would have stepped up and gone in between and told us boys, hey, it's not okay to do that. And rather than just ignoring it and letting us tease that boy who probably had a very hard time.
thing finally changed.
Allegations regarding sexual assault and sexual harassment.
But she says he's
And there will be no going back.
Yes, it's true. The Me Too movement is here. It's real. And it's good, I think, that it's a subject of discussion, because oftentimes it was not discussed or just treated as something it's not worth being discussed.
Because we believe in the best in men.
Men need to hold other men accountable.
Now, whether Gillette believes in the best in men or not, I don't know. To me, it seems more like a marketing slogan that they try to use to push their products. But if I remove myself from that, I think being a gentleman is inherently connected to improving and getting better, taking criticism and just learn from it and grow. What I mean by that is, if we stop getting better, we already stop being good. And it's something that Oliver Cromwell once said, and it was a very wise slogan. So just because this ad is bringing up negative behavior that some men, not all men, express or demonstrate, doesn't mean that all men are bad. But I think it's a good reminder to just reevaluate our own behavior, because I think often we don't think about our own behavior as bad, but others, particularly women, look at it and feel like it's sexist, whereas we think, oh, it's totally okay. In my opinion, it's just good to take a step back and say, hey, what behaviors do I display that are maybe sexist? For example, the other day we got some books from Germany. They were nicely illustrated, a little text, and I was just reading them to my daughter. And they were about, market squares and firefighters and policemen. And I was just reading it to her. And my wife said, oh, well, it's not just a fireman, which is the word for firefighter in German, but also a firewoman. And so once I took a closer look at it, I realized all the activities of firefighters or policemen, it was all male across the board. All the construction workers, it was all male. Now, yes, it's true, most of the time these jobs are done by men, but women can do them as well. And by having books and just teaching our little children that only men can do those things, we engage in sexist behavior, and I didn't even realize it. So it's just sometimes good to take a step back and think about those whole things.
Sweetie, come on.
To say the right thing. To act the right way.
Bro, not cool, not cool.
Some already are.
What's displayed here is more like a form of civil courage. When you see something that is not okay, you speak up. And I think as a gentleman, that's always the honorable thing to do. You don't just walk away and let others do their thing, But if you see that someone is getting beaten up, speak up. If you see that a woman is harassed or treated in a way that makes her uncomfortable, speak up and give her the feeling of comfort. And I think that's something where we as men can just reevaluate our behavior and think whether what we're doing is truly respecting others, including women.
In ways big
Yo, men, we're acting like we gonna shake it.
and small.
I am strong.
Yeah, that's another aspect of it, right? If we are men and we're very secure in ourselves, it's great to help others feel better and empower them, and ultimately being a person that others want to be around with, that helps them to grow rather than someone who tries to push them down or belittles them. I think that's something that we can all aspire to as human beings, not just as men or women or LGBT. It doesn't matter. It's just a quality that great people have.
But some is not enough.
It's not how we treat each other, okay? Okay.
Because the boys watching today will be the
Yeah, it's the old game, right? Do as I say, not do as I do. Living by example is a lot more powerful than just telling people what to do. And actually showing as a dad or someone who is an important figure in someone else's life and acting responsibly has a huge impact, which is why a lot of sports people oftentimes get disciplined if they don't act well in public, because they have such a big impact on kids. And if it's okay for other people to do stuff, then little kids think it's okay for them to do stuff. So our actions don't just affect ourselves, but also others who look up to us. So keep that in mind.
men of tomorrow.
The best a man can get. Looking at that as a whole, I think a lot of people got offended by it because they felt like it was just pointing out negative things about men. Now, I think it pointed out certain aspects of negative male behavior that is sometimes displayed, and it's something that men can change, that they can get over with. A lot of men don't actually do this stuff, which is great. And men are important in our society, right? I mean, men fight in the military, men help to rescue others. The suicide rate for men is higher, the depression rate for men is higher. So men sacrifice a lot in our society. And it doesn't mean that men are not valued or that they have to change everything they do. But there are certain aspects where we engage in a certain sexist behavior, or we do things that belittles others, and I think that can be changed, and that's a valid point. Do I think Gillette did that because they genuinely believe in that? Frankly, I don't know. I'm rather doubtful. To me, it's a big marketing thing because they're really having a hard time from a business point of view. They're selling products to women, and they just want to be a part of the conversation. And clearly with 24 million views after just a week, they're achieving that goal. Will it help them turn around sales? I don't know. I'm rather doubtful because the product itself sucks. But at the end of the day, I think it's good to discuss these things and bring men to think about their behavior and maybe have others think about their behavior too. Just because being a woman doesn't mean you can't belittle others or you can be unfair to others. If you look at things like the CEOs of Fortune 500 companies, you realize that 95% are men, right? Or on average, men still earn more than women, not necessarily because they do better work, but because they're traditionally considered to be the bread earner and the breadwinner. So it's just something to consider. And looking at overall wealth, right? I mean, 88% of all billionaires today are men. So I think we have some ways to go to achieve true gender equality, but that doesn't mean I have to be apologetic of being a man. And I'm very secure in who I am, but it doesn't mean that I can't improve. I try to improve every day. I want to make our website better. I want to make our products better. I want to be a better dad, and I want to treat people better. And having that mindset, I think, helps me. And if I'm just shutting down when someone criticizes me and just say, oh, I'm offended, I'm not going to do or buy this product again because they criticized me in a way, then that stops me from getting better, because I have a picture of myself in mind, and by putting down any valid criticism, you're just actually holding yourself back from achieving that level. So again, I'm not telling you what to do or that you're a bad person. I'm just saying, reconsider your behavior, think about it, and be conscious of it. And that's what you can do to be a better man. And therefore, you can strive to be a gentleman and aspire to be that and help others and help them grow and be a better person. All right. I know it was a slightly different video. If you enjoyed it, please leave some comments and let me know what you thought. And see you again with another video about Canada Goose on Friday.